Considered by most of them to be an imbecile. But when the cameras are on, man, oh man, they cannot get enough of everything he says.
We are going to conquer the vast frontiers of science, and we are going to lead humanity into space and plant the American flag on the planet Mars and even far beyond. This is a time for big dreams and bold action. I will do away with red traffic lights, only green from now on. Keep it moving. America's momentum is back. Our spirit is back, and measles are back. We love our measles, don't we? Little spots. Pink, pink, pink. So cool. So itchy. I've had them on my balls. Big, big. I also signed an executive order to ban women from having their periods. It's demeaning for women, and it's very bad for our country. Melania says it's that time of the month, all month. She's fantastic. So much menstruation, Melania.
This whole thing has brought back my 8-year-old self. It's been a gift from God. It's like literally like brought me back to 8 years old, where I used to sit in my room. Trump is toast.
What a boy. Jimmy Kimmel and Jim Carrey simply tag-teamed Donald and Melania Trump in a manner reminiscent of the WWE. But instead of body slams, it's pure comedy destruction. Carrey isn't holding back. Kimmel is roasting as if it were Thanksgiving. What about the Trumps? This would be a courtroom drama. Let's say, if appearances could sue, what did they say that caused a rout in MAGA world? Hold on tight, because this is hilarious, brutal, and simply must see.
Donald Trump has pushed us to the point where we can't even agree on the weather. What a stupid time to be alive. But has anyone thought about unplugging America and plugging it back in again? Because
We are parentless. You know? We are babysat by the television. We're taught how to think by the television. That's the dangerous thing about what's going on right now. There are generations growing up right now who are learning to lie. That lying is okay. That this
kids say fake news.
That you're supposed to hate half the country. You know? And if anything, we've got to get back to a place where we realize that a vote is not who you are. You know, and because you voted Republican, you're not stupid, you're not different, you're not worthless. You know, I could break bread with anybody who voted for Trump. We could find some common ground to love each other.
Donald and Melania Trump just received the most hilarious roasting of their lives from Jim Carrey and Jimmy Kimmel. And this was long overdue, let's face it. This would be the grand finale if Karma had a late-night performance. Kimmel, the master of late-night sarcasm, cut through Trump's frail ego like a hot knife through butter, while Carrey, a walking cartoon who can transform any moment into an absurdist masterpiece, went full throttle. The outcome was a stunningly vicious defeat that left even Trump's most ardent supporters reeling.
the White House put out a memo today warning federal agencies to prepare for mass layoffs. But don't worry, none of this will affect the butler who brings Trump his Diet Cokes 9 times a day. You know, they sent an email to millions of government employees instructing them to share 5 things they accomplished last week. Trump said they would be fired if they didn't, then said they wouldn't be fired. Then he said they would be semi-fired. Now he's saying they'll be wood-fired with caramelized onion.
Subscribe if you're enjoying it. Naturally, Trump is currently typing frantically in all caps, feigning indifference while surreptitiously composing a tirade about woke Hollywood elites and poor viewership at 3 in the morning. Ironically, he is more concerned with what famous people think of him than with real laws or even with geography. Do you recall his belief that Belgium was a city?
Jimmy Kimmel's a loser. Dude, Jimmy Kimmel, I did him a lot. He'd be standing on the sidewalk. Oh, sir, may I bring you in? He'd bring me in every time. All they do is talk bad about Trump.
Yes, we also do. Not to be overlooked in all of this is Melania, who typically hovers in the background like a first lady created by artificial intelligence. She was also not spared, with just the right amount of shade to make you question whether she even wanted to be there. Kimmel had a field day with her robotic manner. Did she have her eyes rolling behind those big sunglasses? Most likely. Did she already have plans for her next best campaign, which would hopefully stop her husband from tweeting about his anger?
With modern times, he criticized capitalism without a conscience. And that's what we have now. We have capitalism without a conscience. He showed the common man being fed through gears of the brutal, dehumanizing industrial age. He took on the American right wing of his day, its worst evils, hatred of immigrants, contempt for the truth, greed, and the abuse of power. We are fighting those same evils today.
The finest aspect? Kimmel and Carrey didn't even have to make any exaggerations. They simply let the jokes speak for themselves and held up a mirror to the ridiculousness of Trump's life. He seems to have been born for satire. He is a walking, talking parody, but we aren't the target of the joke.
As is tradition, except for 4 years ago when Trump refused to do it, the outgoing first couple welcomed the incoming president and first lady, which was interesting to watch. Trump actually got involved in Melania's outfit for this ceremony. A lot of people are talking about it. He told her he thought it would be super hot if she dressed like a goth Al Capone. And so she did. We found Carmen Sandiego.
Imagine discovering every morning that your biggest adversary isn't the IRS, a covert cabal, or even a foreign superpower. These two late-night comedians have a repertoire of jokes that are more incisive than Trump's knowledge of the fundamentals of geography. This irony is nearly poetic. The man who made his reputation as the loudest, thinnest bully in the room is now losing it over a little comic retaliation. Seeing a professional wrestler abruptly complain that the punches are too real is like that. For years, Trump insulted people like an unattended toddler in a candy store. Crazy, nonsensical, and completely unconcerned with reality. Jimmy Kimmel and Jim Carrey are now merely giving him a taste of his own medicine. What's the difference? In fact, they're humorous. No need for all caps angry tweets or nicknames appropriate for a playground. Just incisive, scathing humor that highlights how absurd Trump's whole life is. What's the best part? Trump is not the only issue. Melania also received a good deal of criticism. With his trademark smirk, Kimmel revealed what everyone has been considering for years. Is Melania genuinely fond of her husband, or is she simply waiting around like a Survivor Mar-a-Lago edition contestant? She's publicly slapping his hand away one moment. The next, she's standing next to the world's least kind man, making robotic speeches about kindness. The contradictions are almost self-evident.
Melania also went into detail about her favorite moment as First Lady.
People always asking me, what was your favorite memory as First Lady? It was in 2020 when Donald get the China virus and he was airlifted to hospital like sick elephant.
What do you know? They still have a spark in common. That's really lovely. Jim Carrey, meanwhile, contributed his characteristic vigor, exaggerated impressions, wild facial expressions, and just enough satire to make even Trump's most loyal supporters wonder if their orange emperor is truly clothed. Carrey is unique in that he does more than simply mimic others. He transforms into them, condensing all of their ridiculousness into a single look. And there's no shortage of ridiculousness to work with when it comes to Trump. But it's not just what Carrey and Kimmel said that's funny, it's the inevitable response from Trump. By now, we are all familiar with the playbook. He'll first act as though he didn't see it. He will then rant about it for far too long. Nothing says not mad, like attempting to sue a comedian for making jokes, so he might even threaten to file a lawsuit. It's not just about making fun of Trump. The goal is to serve as a reminder to the world that humor can effectively combat nonsense. And if Trump has given us anything in large quantities, it's nonsense. Carrey did more than just make fun of Trump. After serving him on a silver platter and flambeing him, he returned for more. His satire was more than just amusing. With each exaggerated facial expression and extravagant impersonation, it was a masterclass in revealing hypocrisy. Carrey reminded us why Trump is more of a late-night comedy treasure trove than a former president. There was more to the analogy than a joke about a broken fax machine. What a fitting metaphor. He's noisy, out of date, and no matter how many times you try to get past him, he just keeps clogging the system and spouting gibberish like an unfixable error message. Kimmel and Carrey did more than just make fun of Melania. They brought her predicament's ridiculousness to everyone's attention. Despite appearing as though she would prefer to be somewhere else, she went from walking the catwalk to walking alongside the most scandal-plagued president in contemporary history. What's the best part? It is likely that Trump believes she is his biggest fan. The humor is self-evident. Furthermore, Trump's outbursts over comedians are nearly as theatrical as the jokes themselves, if history is any indication. As though Jim Carrey and Jimmy Kimmel are gathering in underground bunkers to conspire against him, he will insist that late-night television is a part of a deep state conspiracy. The latest in a long line of Trump's inability to handle criticism is Carrey and Kimmel's roasting session. Until he is not in charge of the script, the man adores the stage. He pretended to be the ultimate alpha male for years. However, he folds more quickly than one of his failed casinos the moment someone with a modicum of comedic skill takes aim. Ultimately, Trump is free to try to ignore this as much as he likes, but everyone is aware that he is observing. He's probably furiously scrolling through Twitter or whatever other off-brand app he uses these days, enraged that the biggest comedians in Hollywood are treating him like the joke he always has been. And that's comedy gold, to be honest.